Good morning and welcome to Trust Talks episode 10, where we are having crypto's leading conversation. My name is Pav and I'm going to be your host for today, where we discuss securing your crypto future and security. We're joined with Vincent and Eve. A pleasure to have you guys on the show. Really appreciate you taking the time to jump out. Let's do some introductions before we get into this exciting and really important conversation. Eve, over to yourself, and then we'll head over to Vincent as well. Tell us about your role here at Trust Wallet, a little bit about what you do, and then we'll head into Vincent and the conversation.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eve. I am the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer from Trust Wallet. So very happy to talk here today with everybody talking about security. I'm so excited. My role is making sure the assets in Trust Wallet are safe for the user and for the company. Yeah, so basically my role.
Amazing. Thank you. Even I actually caught up offline yesterday for the first time. So it's a pleasure to have you here on Trust Talks for the first time. And hopefully we'll see you back here again. We also have Vincent from Ledger. Vincent, please introduce yourself. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us here today.
Thank you, Pav, and hi, everyone. So basically, Vincent from Ledger. I'm managing the product security at Ledger. What does it mean? We try to protect, as you, Eve, all the assets that user is storing in our wallets. My team is called Le Donjon. We have an offensive approach because we think that attack is better than defense in terms of protection. My team is composed by hardware engineers to attack our hardware. As you know, we provide hardware and device, but we have also software engineer. This is my role.
Amazing, an absolute massive leader in the space. I've been a user of the product since I started my crypto journey in 2017. So really excited to get into this conversation, especially with what's been happening on chain from a security perspective. In the last 3 to 6 months, we've seen some massive news that's come out, an incredible story what happened as well. We'll get into a little bit about that as well. And also really important for newcomers who are coming into the space as well. Like, one of the things that we love to do on Trust Talks is have a really balanced conversation about people who are natively on chain and existing in the space, and people who are new to the space, coming on chain for the first time. And security is arguably one of the most important things that needs to be discussed. I had a conversation with someone about a month and a half ago about the importance of onboarding people into the space. And it was, if you're going to give someone knowledge about crypto or knowledge about decentralization or operating on chain to bring them in, whether it's for a meme coin, whether it's for a centralized exchange or staking or DeFi, it's almost our responsibility to ensure that we're also educating them on security as well, you know, making sure that you're safe on chain. I wanted to start by asking both of you guys how the narrative around security have changed from the early days of crypto to now. So we've obviously seen an uptake in a lot of crime that's happening on chain. How has the narrative and the conversations changed? Let's head over to you, Eve, first.
Oh, interesting question. I would say in the early days, crypto really feel like Wild West. Builders, they move fast. They think, oh, security is something that we can left behind and think about it later. Then we saw huge hacks. For example, the Mongols lost over 450 million back in 2014. Then we have the DAO hack that happened, I think, in 2016, empty around 60 million for only a smart contract, right? So these were not just small bugs. These were the kind of hacks that made many people question, is crypto really safe, right? I think nowadays things are different. Well, with the recent Bybit hack, everyone understands the importance of security. People expect security is something to be built in, not something to add later on. If they don't feel safe, they just don't use your product. So I think that's very important change. At Trust Wallet, we bake security into everything. So we have the scanning on the dApps, we have smart contract scanning, we have real-time phishing detection. So it all works in the background, though. Maybe you don't see it unless the risk appear to you, and we gave warnings. So it works. For example, just in last year, 2024, we helped user avoid more than $400 million handed to the scammer. We flagged the risky transaction before the user try to send the crypto or to sign some transaction. So I would say security are the new standard. A wallet is not just about storing your crypto or browsing around, but it's also need to protect the user every second.
Yeah, it's a fantastic point, especially with the rate at things we're building, early on, especially when I got involved sort of like 2016, 2017, and security wasn't really a focus. It wasn't really like, at the forefront of a project building strategy. And now, as you're saying, the importance of it with what's happened, it really needs to be at the forefront, especially when we're having this conversation of self-custody and we're having this conversation of decentralization. Vincent, same question to yourself. Have you seen anything different? Is anything you wanted to add to that in terms of shifts in people's view towards security on chain?
Yeah, actually, I had the same impression as you say. Security was not a topic at the beginning. Early days, it was like you generate your seed, you are alone, and good luck. Actually, and if I take the hardware perspective, where Ledger stands, we have seen different challenges. The first challenge was how you store securely your keys. That was the first challenge. And I think here it's a closed topic. Now we know how to generate a seed. You need a secure random generator. Then how you store the seed. It is a topic that now it's closed. Now the question, and it is, I agree with Yves, basically is how now you use your seed, how you use your private key in a secure way. And at Ledger, we try to push what we call the clear signing initiative, because we think that the next step is to make sure that when a user interacts with smart contracts, he understands what he is doing. Because we have recently seen a big hack with Bybit. It was mainly a smart contracting, a basic smart contract interaction. And now, yeah, the security is more on the usage, not on the storage.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And I wanted to shift the conversation or the direction more towards self-custody, as you mentioned there, right? Like, at the forefront of this conversation, Ledger's whole ethos is about self-sovereignty. What do you think holds people back from taking full ownership of those keys? Is it that there is that higher barrier to entry and it's not as easy and it is a little bit difficult? And, there's that challenge of everyone's chronically online and used to storing passwords online. And now you're thinking about a whole new way to stay safe. What's your thoughts on people taking that ownership?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I think it's the same blocker that when people ask to change something in their life. Self-custody is really a new way of thinking, a new way of managing your digital assets. For me, it's fear and friction. Fear, basically, when you enter in self-custody, you understand that you have a responsibility to manage your key. And as you say, there is no reset button when you lost your keys. It's impossible. You can't reset. You are, again, and there is nothing to do. And there is the friction. I think we suffered a lot. If you look at the blockchain technology, it was not a design in a way that we can provide simple user experience, to be honest. So we suffered. I think all the industry goes into the good directions. And if I take Ledger, we are trying to fix that with, I would say, two things. First, I'm sure that you have seen our latest devices, bigger screen, touch screen. We try to provide a standard experience, a regular experience to build the trust with the new users. And the second aspect, I think we will come back on that, is clearly user education, user awareness. And on this point, we invest a lot on creating content. And also, I see that Trust Wallet is doing the same with this podcast, so I'm very happy.
No, it's important. It is really important. We were having a conversation about that last week on education versus our need as builders to create simplicity. And it's almost like, do we focus on more education or do we focus on making the product easier? And the summary was the brands that do both, or the projects that do both, they're the ones that excel and stand out far more than anyone else. And what I mean by that is they have a strong focus on education and they incorporate that within the product. They incorporate it through conversations like this. And at the same time, there's that key focus on how do we make this easier? How do we make it more simple? And how do we make it more, quote unquote, for a lack of a better term, Web 2? And I think you guys have done that exceptionally well with the products that you have, because I've seen those. You can now scan barcodes on them, they're touchscreen. So yeah, really, really cool. I definitely want to get my hands on one of those. Eve, same question to you actually. You know, what do you think holds people back from taking that dive into self-sovereignty? Is it that they don't know what they're doing? Is it that it's a little bit more technically difficult? What do you think? What do you think's happening there?
I think can I just maybe look into this question like people experience the failure of exchange, and I think that may have the mindset shift. So I want to talk about that angle. I think experience what happened back in the days that when FTX collapsed was kind of like a wake-up call for many people. And I still remember I got a message from my friend, a very close friend and crypto expert, right? Oh, I have so much money on that platform. So panic mode, right? That moment really hits me. I think what I try to say is even very experienced crypto DGen user can lose their fund by just choosing the wrong platform at the wrong time. So after that, I think more people are asking about self custody, and especially who actually control my keys. Can I be the one who take control? Can I get back my assets when something went really wrong? So I think that how user get more attention in self-custody, they want to dig in and understand what are the products available. Of course, hot wallet and cold wallet are really popular. So you know, that gets serious traction on the self-custodian. I think yeah, that's how it is. I can also talk about more about hot wallet, my opinion about using hot wallet and cold wallet as a hybrid mode. But basically, I think that's the roadmap of how people pay attention more to the self-custodian method in terms of securing their crypto assets.
Yeah, I'd love to head in that direction. I think it's a fantastic point. It's a really, really great point that you raised there, especially with centralized exchanges. And without sounding like I'm repeating myself, you know, crypto just does not have the greatest reputation, and that is a fact. And I think that's something we need to be aware of and something we need to incorporate in our conversations as thought leaders, especially when we're talking about hot versus cold. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. To tell me a little bit more about that hybrid model, how someone who's listening here for the first time and they're sort of new to the space, how they can navigate within that. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Would you like me to go first, or Vincent to go first?
Yes, please, Eve, go for it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I would say in terms of this approach is a hybrid. So myself, let me look into cold wallets like my personal votes. Okay, they are offline, they are ultra secure. I like them, and they are really great for the long-term storage. As I always said, I would look at like putting my saving into a saving account versus a current account. So,
Yeah.
but of course, I'm a big fan of hot wallet myself. There's so many opportunity to earn, to stake, and also airdrop, launch pool, NFT, right? So I need to navigate into the Web3 opportunity freely. And I think hot wallet has a lot of great UX. It's very easy to understand. Especially, I'm a big fan of hot wallet in the mobile. I have my mobile always with me whenever I go, and I'm not missing any opportunity. I'm very fast to react to the market. So, but myself, I can also create different hot wallet freely, and each of them put little fun. So I can also reduce the attack surface because the hot wallet is online. So I can freely manage my risk and the diversification of my crypto using the hybrid among the cold wallet and also hot wallet. So I can optimize my opportunity, but at the same time get protection from both wallet in a different manner. So that's how I personally use it, and I highly recommend people doing that.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Vincent, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this particular topic as well before we move on.
You know, hot, cold, and hybrid topic is a very, very complex topic. Prior to Ledger, I was working for institution and bank for crypto. And we had many requests about cold storage, air gap storage. For me, this is not about the wallet, it's about the setup. Okay, if you take a mobile application and you put your mobile air gap, is a cold storage. I mean, so first, I think sometimes we don't do the difference between wallet and the setup. The setup will depend on your use case. For saving, use a cold setup. Take a wallet, keep your seeds safe. And obviously, as you said, Eve, as soon as you want to stake to earn, hot wallet is key here. What I like, and maybe we will go back on this point later, is typically with account abstraction, with smart account on chain, you can mix really a hot wallet with a cold wallet. Typically, cold wallet tomorrow could be connected at some point with like zero knowledge proof that you commit, and automatically is signed if the what you commit is okay. So I think hot and cold wallet is a past debate, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's why it's important to have these conversations, right? We're reframing how we should be thinking, operating, how these conversations should be had. So yeah, thanks for that insight. You touched on it there, and I really want to spend some time with yourselves today, just discussing onboarding and the simplicity of that, right? We've touched on it. We've alluded to it in this conversation. Eve, simplicity is often the enemy of security. How do we balance user friendliness with safety? How do we get that fine balance of, this is a really nice, easy experience that's encouraging me to have have self-custody, but also I know that I'm having that security, and I know that I'm covered, and I know that there's no chance of me, running into anything untoward. Sorry, you're muted there.
Apologize. Yeah. So thank you for your question. I think it's a very classic challenge, how to balance user friendliness with security and safety. And it doesn't matter is Web 2 or crypto, Web 3, it's a very important topic. So I want to call out, if security is too complex, people just ignore it. But if it's too simple, people just miss the risk. So I would say the Trust Wallet, our approach is smart simplicity. So it's not about removing all the friction, but it's about creating the right level and kind of friction. So I give you an example. One of our user, he actually made a tweet. He was about to sign a smart contract, right? So it looked totally legit. Wow, but our system just security scanner just pop up a warning, and because we scan it live, and then we realize, oh, it's something related to honeypot, and then we pop up a warning, and we didn't display a PhD level of code about what's going on. We can do it, but we decided to just use simple English, like, are you sure you want to send a fund? You are going to lose everything. So it's a very informative warning that's super clear. We even have translation in different languages. So so this guy, he paused, and then he just, oh wow, double check the website. Oh, it's fake. It's just a fake website from a scammer. So I think that simplicity talk a lot in action. So the truth is, the user, they do not really want to have a PhD or has to be a crypto degen in order to understand how to use a wallet, because especially hot wallet is for everybody. User experience is always our first priority, also along with security. So that's why we work so hard with the design team to really design the features that educating the user without telling them we're educating you. So we just prompt you, the right message at the right moment, real-time alerts. With some visual help. So we get the info you need when you need it. So you don't feel like you are being stopped. I think that's the simplicity we are talking about. Kind of like a GPS. You want it to tell you what is wrong when you go to that direction, but it doesn't mean that the GPS is blocking you to, do your adventure. So I think that's how I think about the balance, and making security invisible, but feeling always there is the key.
That's a really great point. I think you summarized it so well in that last sentence. you know, it's there in the background, but it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel invasive. It's not stopping your journey that you're going on through operating on chain. It's just there. It's in the background. And when I think of security and simplicity, I think the transition to Face ID or, you know, fingerprint ID was like really the epitome of that. It was like everyone wants to have that security, but they don't want to have to put a code in every time, or, you know, they want it easy. And I think that simplicity, or that way in which it's so easy to ensure that you're secured but still carry on doing what you're doing, I think that's like really, really important. Vincent, how is Ledger making the onboarding process easier for people completely new to cold storage? I know that must be a conversation you guys are often having, and you know, that dichotomy of we want it frictionless and simple, but we want more users. How is that conversation happening at Ledger at the moment?
That's a tricky conversation, to be honest. I like to say that onboarding is the key moment in terms of security. You know, in company industry, I mean, in B2B industry, the onboarding will generally is called the key ceremony, because it's really a ceremony when you onboard. So what we do at Ledger is that we provide multi-way to secure your seed, and we try to provide the most content as possible for the user. Typically, when you have a device, you will get a companion app that's called Ledger Live. And I focus on your question about beginner users. If you take Ledger Live, what is really good is that we don't expect user being an expert day one. We see that as a long journey. So when you have Ledger Live, you will be able to buy your first crypto. Then if you want, we will help you to first swap your first token. And then you can stake, you can earn with just one unified experience. We try to help the user to becoming an expert in terms of crypto. That's mainly what we do at Ledger. Actually, onboarding is key, and I think putting too much simplicity is dangerous. This is very important to sensibilize that when you do the onboarding, do that in a safe place, in safe environment, really.
Yeah, it's a great point, especially about the journey that someone takes, right? It's not just about being on chain or self-sovereign. It's about learning and growing through that experience. And I actually agree, like Ledger Life for me was actually a bit of a godsend, because you sort of receive this hardware and you're sort of thinking, what's going on here? You're pressing these little buttons and you're like, you know, this is the right thing to do. You know, this is what you should be doing, but it doesn't feel very you know, it doesn't feel very cutting edge technology. You know, we're speaking about cryptocurrency as the future of finance, and then you're pressing these little buttons. So having that Ledger Live, it really balanced it out for me. I was like, okay, cool, this is familiar, this is an app, this is now how I am used to operating, and it added that level of familiarity. And then you're right, like once you're in, then you can see how, right, what do I do with these funds now? And it's about the ease of how that process is. Eve, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what Vincent just mentioned there about, you know, if we make security too simple, that could have some implications, or that could be dangerous. Eve, I'd love to get your take on, or what you think about that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the representation. Security itself, the subject, is not simple. So we do have a team behind the scene doing all the scanning, doing all the analysis, right? And get to the point, okay, calculate the risk score and aggregate all the data and say, okay, this website has a similar pattern as a known phishing website. So that's why they are scamming. So we also scan the smart contract to understand, oh, this smart contract looks legit, but actually we charge you unlimited, well, very high gas fee, or you are going to give unlimited approval. These are all complex things. The point about simplicity I'm trying to say is that to make it extremely effective, to stop the user to do something stupid, the message has to be simple. Of course, if the user want to understand why we give you a warning, they can drill it down. We have more details description to understand. If the user is interested, can also ask us, hey, explain to me why this smart contract has vulnerability. that's available. But I think for the day-to-day user, um, uh, uh, to to display this information on Trust Wallet, for example, may be a distraction, because when most of the average users see, oh, this is something I don't understand, let me just ignore it, just close it. But if it's the message like you're going to lose your fund, yeah, let me think about it. Let me do my own research, right? Again, I just call out security itself is a complex topic. We have a lot of expert behind the scene, but the representation to the everyday user must be effective. We want to help them. We want to educate them slowly. So that's the point I want to call out.
Yeah, I laugh. I laugh because I've done that as well. I don't understand abandon right now. So yeah, no, I get that. Vincent, I know you unmuted there. Was there anything you wanted to add just before we move on?
No, I totally agree. I mean, security is about a user experience, and you're right. If we put many alert everywhere, at the end, the user will just ignore the alarm. So we need to be at the good moment, at the good place when you do security awareness.
No, amazing. I completely agree. Just one final question on the seamlessness or lack of, or the importance of, how that experience is for someone, experiencing security barriers. Do we think self-custody can ever be as seamless as you see with fintech apps, or do you think there's always going to be a trade-off? Vincent, I know you're obviously saying that, an element of security is important, and it needs some sort of friction to ensure that you're actually paying attention and you're not just frivolously taking or signing transactions. But I'd love to get your take on is there a trade-off? Will there be a trade-off? Do you think we'll ever see that level of seamlessness in Web3 or in Web3 security?
I love the question. Before crypto, I've been working for 10 years in payment industry, so fintech,
Yeah, so it's good. Yeah, it's
basically. And I would say that when you use a fintech app, you gave up in terms of security, because you know that if you do a mistake, someone will help you and so on. So for sure, the experience will be different. And I would say that we are more and more close to this kind of experience. And I will maybe tell you that, surprisingly, I think we will be better than fintech app. I just give you an example that I'm sure that everyone already faced. Please wait 2 days for transferring your funds. It's a nightmare. You see what I mean? And
Yeah.
with crypto, it's not possible. Oh, we have a problem with our infrastructure. Please wait. It doesn't exist. Blockchain are available 24 hours, 7 on 7. So I think the experience will be different, better. So I don't know if you can compare. Let's take the cash and credit card. It's not possible to compare. Each has their own pros and cons. It's easy to pay with cash, but it's easy to lose your cash. So I think this is the comparison, and I think for sure in the future, and I'm very bullish on payments, we will be better than fintech apps.
Yeah, I actually love that, Eve. I will come to you just before I add a few comments there. And I'm guilty of this, right? I'm actually constantly comparing how and what and why in Web 2 and in Web 3, because I've been in the space, I've been building in the space for the last 3-4 years. I'm constantly having that conversation with people who are in the space and people who are outside the space. And it's a really profound point. They both have their pros and cons, and I think I'm always looking for one answer, and I'm always trying to figure out, which is the one that's going to dominate in the future. And they both can, right? They both can, and they will. But like you said there, it's going to be different. It's going to be advantageous for certain things and less advantageous for other things. But overall, you think, bullish, it's going to be net better. Eve, over to you just to add some comments.
Yeah, I love this question. I think we are getting closer every day because people improve the user experience for Web2 user, because we want to adopt that to the Web3 world. So that's one thing. But I personally think we need some technological breakthrough and change. So I personally like account abstraction. So I think it's a kind of breakthrough I'm talking about. For example, with this kind of technology breakthrough, we can approve some small transaction. We can use smart contract and set the limit, how much crypto you can send. This kind of very Web2 limits can be baked into Web3, but we need some new technology like smart contract to support this kind of capability. So I think that is the example of a big step towards the mainstream usability. And I think because as a user experience, I think fintech makes things easy by hiding the complexity, and that should be the way to go. And in crypto, on another side, we do not want to hide everything, right? We want to keep things open source. We don't want to hide the truth. We want to empower the user. So how we marry the simplicity of fintech, but at the same time being very open about the complexity behind the scene if people want to look at the smart contract are also available. So yes, there will be some trade-off, but I think Trust Wallet and also the industry has been actively building and improving our product using UX design and AI tools. So and smart contract automation will eventually close the gap. So yeah, I think we want to see more people are just more comfortable with the self-custody, just like the fintech. We are heading to that direction.
Yeah, we discussed it last week about, you know, 1 billion users on chain and how that is going to contribute towards an overall level up across the whole industry, right? And I think security 100% is within that. And that seamlessness that we're discussing, of course, like, you know, it is going to take some time, and that education is going to take some time, but eventually, of course, we're going to be at a similar, if not better level, I believe as well. Great points, guys. I really do agree, and I'm really enjoying the conversation. So let's move on. Vincent, did you want to add anything there just before we move on to security in practice? Like we've covered quite a bit, but I mean, did you want to add anything there?
No, that's okay. I agree.
Amazing. Vincent, you are very close to users at Ledger, and I wanted to know, what do you think are the top 2 or 3 mistakes people are making with their wallets? You know, what do you see or what do you hear about what's coming across your desk in terms of challenges and mistakes people are making?
That's my day-to-day job. As I say, I'm managing product security at Ledger, so I'm focused on product and security. Very easy. 3. First is clearly a problem of blind signing. Again, Bybit attack due to blind signing. This is clearly a problem. It's what I was explaining during at the beginning. I think that now the challenge will be to make sure that the interaction with smart contract, DApps, and so on is secure. And Eve mentioned transaction simulation. I think it's really a good option. We are also working at Ledger on transaction simulation. We are also working with the ecosystem to create a new protocol for clear signing. And by the way, I take advantage to be here. If you want to participate, DM me on X or everywhere. We try to onboard all the ecosystem to avoid the complexity of smart contract interaction. Second is, unfortunately, bad management of the recovery seed frames. Here, we already discussed that, but this is hard to blame someone, because first experience, we ask you to store 24 words, you don't know why, and the reflex is to take your smartphone and take a pictures. Yeah. So here I have just one advice, is that if you have any doubt, generate a new seed, move your funds. It will be less costly for you, I think. Sometimes it's later. It is not in the moment. You generate a seed and you think it's secure. It's maybe not. So if you have any doubt, change. And the third one is trusting the wrong devices or apps. And this point is my job. At Ledgers, we benchmark our devices, the devices of the competitor, the application of the competitor, and we try to elevate the security. I can tell you that if we look at the evolution, we really think that hardware devices in general, not about Ledgers, but also our competitor, is secure better than 2 years ago, a lot. I mean, there is a big gap. So yeah, choose the good wallet. That's my third advice.
Yeah, thank you. And Eva, I wanted to come to you. I was going to ask you about, MPC wallets, smart contract wallets. But just before I do that, are there any mistakes that you're seeing or you're hearing about that are coming through?
I would want to focus on the user mistake instead of the mistake from the industry player.
Yeah.
I think the user mistake would be more like psychologists. So remember, the scammer are everywhere. They are targeting everybody. So most people, I think, they are weak. The weakest is actually the psychologists. They trust the wrong people. They rush to get into a 100x investment project without checking. They think that they cannot lose much. I just invest in, $100, right? But the more they see the gains, the more they put the money in, and they can never get back
Yeah.
the so-called investment gain at the end, because it's a pig butchering scheme. I have seen a lot of this. I think this kind of human mistake will need the user to be educated. So hopefully people will learn a smaller mistake, like losing like $10, $100, but not too much. And then the whole Web3 user group will understand these are the weakest link. And of course, using a product, a wallet, that will remind you the risk when you do this kind of money transfer or investment will be really helpful. Yeah, I think that's the common mistake. It's the human error.
Yeah. I completely agree. I mean, I'm laughing, but it's true. Like you do see a lot of mistakes that are made, and I don't know whether that's down to greed or a lack of education or a lack of patience. But nevertheless, we do see it. Eve, what's your take on MPC wallets, smart contract wallets, and the rise of account abstraction? Are these complementary or are they competition to cold storage? What's your thoughts on that?
I think this is the best area, the most exciting area for water innovation right now. So,
Yeah.
well, if it stays the competition, it's a good competition anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I think instead of saying it's a competition, they compensate each other. So I look at MPC wallets. It's something perfect for a team. Uh, Corporate environment when you need to approve a transaction by multi parties, because nobody actually hold the
One
rookie,
person. Yeah.
right? So the responsibility and the risk is split among multiple people or device. So that's great. And it's really powerful for group security, and that will continue to be, the trend. But then when you look at now smart contract like Trust Wallet, we have the Swift Wallet, which is the smart contract wallet we launched last year.
Yeah.
The really important simplicity and security is that it replaced the old seed-based concept with the passkey, and people can unlock using the Face ID, complex device PIN. So it feels like more modern app and have a little bit of Web2 experience. And I think also the potential that it can support the gas fee using, pay by different token, and do one click for multiple transactions. These are the really future a lot of possibility because of the power of smart contract. And then I think I keep mentioning account abstraction. I think this is where it gets really exciting, because with account abstraction AA, smart wallet can actually behave kind of like regular wallets, but
Yeah.
with the extra features. The features about convenience and security all in one place. Now you have the possibility to not only paying the gas fee using stable coin. In the past, you can only pay it with ETH, for example,
Yeah.
right? And then you can also have somebody to sponsor you the gas fee. So because gas fee sometimes is pretty difficult to be understood by the
Really.
newbies user.
Yeah.
Why I cannot send my crypto? Oh, gas fee, what is that, right? I think this kind of simplicity about the smart contract wallet and the account abstraction act together will really be the future. So yeah, so I think a lot of wallet player in the industry, including Trust Wallet, are following this kind of space very closely. And I do not think this will replace the cold storage. This will replace the EOA wallet. This will not replace the MPC, but it's the big innovation that compensate each other. So yeah, I think that will eventually become a lot more user-friendly.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So many points there. Just like touching on the NPCs as well. Like, you know, you don't have that single point of failure. It's a lot more institutional friendly. Vincent, I know you unmuted there. I'd love for you to chime in here. Please feel free to jump in.
No, this is the first time I think a comparison between account abstraction and NPC is interesting. Actually, I never thought about that before, but what is the future of MPC when you can have a multi-sig on-chain? Because if you think about MPC, it's very complex mathematics. Auditability is very complicated, to be honest. Even if we have the very good expert, what I like in account abstraction, as you said, is like on top of your standard wallet, you can add extra feature. Multi-sig is a good example. Time locking is a good, recovery is a good example. I really like account abstraction. And for me, it's not a competition, it's like an extension. And I really love, actually it's very breakthrough in the ecosystem.
Yeah, some great points there. And I'm just conscious of time, so I wanted to move on to education and empowerment within security and crypto as well. Eve, how do we educate people without scaring them? We did touch on this with especially what we're doing at Trust Wallet with simplified messages that feel natural and don't feel overwhelming. But you know, it's a really big conversation for newbies, a really big conversation for new people coming in. How do we eliminate that fear from it? How do we make that UI UX easier and simpler?
Yeah. To be frank, no adult wants to be educated. Especially in Web3. Hey, we are Web3 users. We are so smart. We are the future. We look in the future. So I think nobody wants to be told what to do. Okay, just put the joke aside. I think the reality is we, including Ledger, including Trust Wallet, and other industry player, we have a lot of really good security blocks. We make the tweets. We remind users, oh, this is what is happening. Somebody got hacked. You know, just disconnect the dApps, blah blah blah, etc. So not so many people actually proactively reading that unless you're a security researcher. That's also the truth. So I think, but the good news is that if somebody may make a small mistake, they hopefully they just lost some fund that they can afford. They will start to pay attention. Perhaps the first time an average user will look at a security article or blog post was because he or she lost some money. I think that's the human nature. I just want to accept it. And hopefully that kind of mistake won't be so expensive. So as I mentioned, like in Trust Wallet, we have our security blog posts. We also make some tweets. These are the materials that we hope they are already there. And when people need them, they can read that. So, as I just mentioned, for example, we have this security scanner, and then we pop up the warning right in time when the user actually facing the risk. And I personally think maybe that's the best moment people will look into the article that we have prepared. Not only by Trust Wallet, but the whole industry, right? That's why I continue to call out this kind of real-time scanning is really essential. Even the message itself is simple, but the motivation for the user to learn and look for deeper information is the trigger point for the education. I think the beauty of everything, I want to summarize, is the user is now actually ready to learn when they practice and when they start the journey. I do not want all the users to start to try crypto after reading all the security blogs because that will send them away. I want them to learn on the fly. So in short, we do not educate the people in the old school way. We meet them at the moment. We make the warning part of the lesson. And I think if we do it right continuously, we make people become safer and smarter. So without ever making them feeling dumb from the beginning.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. It's funny you said that, like, you know, nothing scares someone into education like a mistake or losing money. And it's so true. Like nothing's going to be more sobering in terms of education than you having made a mistake and you having to learn for it. A slightly more proactive approach is the Ledger Academy. Vincent, tell us about the Ledger Academy, the initiative you guys are working on to guide users through this landscape of security and self-custody.
Yeah, Ledger Academy is like our main hub in terms of educations. We try to cover everything from a simple transfer to a advanced DeFi interaction. What I really like in Ledger Academy, and if you didn't try, I invite you to try. It's Ledger Quest. Ledger Quest is the gamify experience. If you know, the thing is, if you want to train yourself on DeFi, this is very complex. You can create a test blockchain, or you can go on testnet. What we try with Ledger Quest is guiding the user with the first step in terms of DeFi interactions. And you can win some NFT and so on. So it's a gamifying experience. Ledger Academy is really a success on our side. We have 1 million users approximately. And we try to invest. But as Yves said, it's very complex to attract user. And we try to pop up Ledger Academy at a good moment in the user journey. Okay. And typically during the onboarding, there is always a link to the Ledger Academy if you want to know more. We don't want to push, we want to attract users.
Yeah, I think there is an element of, if you're coming into the space, you do need to learn. You do need to educate yourself. You know, it's not, you can't just start using new instruments without understanding the context behind them or some of the security. So although, because we're having this conversation from a thought leading perspective and we're looking at how can we make it easier and what can we do to support and what are the things that can be implemented, sometimes the answer is, if you're going to play the game, you need to learn the rules. And I think that should be at the forefront of conversation as well. Just as we head into the last 5 minutes before we wrap up for today, I wanted to just quickly go through adoption and what's next. Yves, where are you seeing the most growth or demand for wallet secure storage? Are we seeing that in any particular regions or demographics?
Yeah, I think the growth we are seeing in emerging market is incredible. So it's not just about the tech adoption itself. We are actually helping people, especially in the developing country, to solve the real world problem. I take India as an example. So it's currently ranked #1 globally for crypto adoption. People using crypto as an alternative to some traditional financial or investment tools, and also looking at Nigeria, where the local currency unfortunately lose value very quickly. Crypto gives people a chance to preserve their savings. So also the countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, Pakistan, the same story. They are not just using crypto for trading, but also a finance practice. So I met a woman from Philippines. She worked in a developed country, and then she used the hot wallet to save in stablecoin, and she need to send money home, to her family back in Philippines. So I think the easy to use low bank fee, not like Western Union like charge high commission, is really something very practical for them. So other thing I want to call, I think the Gen Z or younger millennials are also coming strong, and because they don't use desktop, they have mobile phone with them all the time. I think that's also another area the mobile first generation would heavily adopt crypto. So in short, I think the next billion users are not just in Silicon Valley. It's there everywhere. They are global, so they need tool to not only for speculation investment, but for day-to-day usage.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And it's a conversation we're going to be having a lot more at Trust Wallet. We're going to be expanding into regions and expanding these conversations, especially into emerging markets, with how much innovation's coming, but also, you know, when you have inflation or, you know, entire countries being debanked, this doesn't just become something that's fun. This becomes a necessity. And these conversations become life-changing. And that's what we want to be leading in our conversations. Just the last couple of questions here as we wrap up, because we do need to finish in the next 2-3 minutes. Vincent, how do you see Ledger fitting into the future wallet stack with mobile wallets, DeFi, and on-chain identity all evolving so fast?
I don't know if you know, but we say that Ledger is an open platform, and we will continue to push that. We think that Ledger mission is to make the security at the good place for the foundations. You just mentioned identity on chain. We see many projects, and for sure it will become real. So first, we don't see Ledger as a crypto wallet. We see that as a key for your digital freedom. Modularity is key. If you look at the integration, we are integrated with Trust Wallet. We think that Ledger will be integrated in every F when you need security. And we want to be this piece in the global picture, because for sure it will be modular. Just look the number of blockchain today, whether you have an approach or you have one wallet per blockchain, or you take the challenge as Trust Wallet and as Ledger to integrate all the blockchain. And for sure it will be modular, integration will be key, and I think Ledger will play this role.
Yeah, fantastically summarized. Just one final question, if we could get short, sharp answers on your views on this. What excites you the most about the evolution of wallet tech and crypto security? Firstly, and then the second part is, what do you think AI and how that role is going to be in wallet security? We'll go to Eve first. Just, you know, a very quick view on that, please.
Yeah, I think as I just answer in some other earlier questions, it's really the innovation about the next generation of the crypto wallets, like the account abstraction together with smart contract. That's really excites me, because we are taking security in a way that we just behave smarter, but not creating more friction. So that's the thing. Especially, I think Vincent also mentioned, right, the possibility of account recovery, but also other things that we can do. People can actually manage their crypto holding their own keys, but just like a banking app. I think that's really exciting me. Then, as you just mentioned about the AI, so I think the AI-backed security will become more powerful, because now we are already using AI tools to monitoring the threat in the on-chain environment, because now the crypto, a lot of things are on-chain, a lot of exploit, a lot of abnormal behavior can be monitored and alert. So if we see another industry player is being attacked, so we will get the alert and we can observe the pattern. And even if the fund is stolen from another player, we can also try to work together to see how to block the stolen fund, just like how we handle a month ago. So yeah, I think that's AI-powered security and threat detection would be the future. Yeah, that's eventually the AI will act like a security assistant to the user, and will be the trusted pilots to just guide the user through the crypto journey. Yeah, I think that will be the next evolution of the wallet security.
Yeah, so that's incredible insight. I hadn't necessarily thought about that, but yeah, really cool, and something that we are having a look at and discussing at Trust Wallet as well. Vincent, same question to you in terms of the next evolution of wallet tech, and then Ledger must be having conversations about AI. What do they look like?
Yeah, so for the second time, I will be very quick. I see that we share the same vision. This is like exactly what I like in the ecosystem, but basically, account abstraction is for me a very good innovations. Yeah. You know, if you just mix that with ZK, ZK proof, ZK technology, the problem is that with account abstraction, your account is on chain. It can be a blocker at some point. But if you mix that with ZK, you can create really, really interesting scenarios. That's what I like in the wallet evolution. On AI, I wouldn't speak about Ledger, but my job at Ledger. As I said, I'm working in an offensive team, and security is always about how I can invest to attack something and what is the revenue if I have something. And AI accelerates and reduce the investment when it comes to attack. Just an example for you. As I said, we are working on hardware security. One of our job is to understand how microcontroller is working. Today is manually, you take a picture and so on. AI, image recognition is basics, okay? It's like a no-brainer now. You can imagine that reverse a chip will take maybe 1 day instead of 6 months. And if you think the impact, it means that the attack will be very low in terms of investment, which is afraid. So this is a big challenge. I think the attack will accelerate faster than defense.
Wow, amazing.
Like content generation and content verification, if you think. Today, content generation is better like content verification.
Yeah, fantastic points. I really appreciate you guys chiming in today. And I'm really grateful we're having this conversation. You know, like we want to be leading conversations in crypto, and we want to be doing that with the best. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I just wanted to give you guys, you know, just a very, very quick opportunity just for any closing comments, just before we wrap up in the next minute.
After you, Yves.
Yeah, again, thank you so much for giving me this platform to share the point of view, and very also great opportunity to look at all the insights from Ledger, Vincent. I think we have strong belief in the AI could actually be helpful for the security. Yeah. And I think as the industry player, we continue to contribute different kind of materials and assist the user to learn to be smarter and do better job in security altogether. I think it's a co-effort. I'm very happy to have this talk.
Amazing. Thank you. And Vincent, over to you just before we close for today.
Yeah, so I think we share the same vision with self-custody, and we say that we don't want to afraid people. But just one thing is that I think everything is vulnerable or will be vulnerable. So the question about self-custody is, who do you want to trust for your digital life? My position is myself. So switch to self-custody, you regret it. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Trust Wallet, for this podcast.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and the Trust Wallet family who tune in every single week. We're here at Trust Talks, leading crypto's biggest conversations with the most influential people in the space. Thank you so much for joining. Join us next week and have an amazing rest of your day. Take care. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Goodbye.